Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I'm your host, James Mackey, and today we have Jennifer Anker with us. Her colleagues know her as Jack, and Jack has been in talent acquisition leadership roles for companies like Twilio, Wiz, most recently Illumio, and even Okta, I think previously, right? So, anyways, Jack, really looking forward to learning from your experiences throughout your career and learning more about you as a whole human being. So, welcome to the show.
Thanks, James. Glad to be here.
So, where are you from?
So originally was born in New York City and grew up in Pennsylvania. And then, I don't know, 25 years ago or so, I moved out to San Francisco and I've been here ever since. But I still am at heart an East Coast girl.
Gotcha. Do you ever visit home at this point, or are you full time and stuff?
Unfortunately, I rarely do because everybody has since moved west. So both my
Gotcha.
brothers and my sister and my parents, they're all out west. I don't get home as much as I used to.
Gotcha. Are they in San Francisco with you, or
My brother is, and then my other brother and sister actually live up in Seattle with my
Seattle?
mom. Yeah.
Nice. Seattle's a fun city too.
Yes,
Do you
it
get
is
up there at
beautiful.
all?
If you can deal with the rain, it is a beautiful town.
Yeah, for sure. Nice, nice. And we before we recorded, you were telling me a little bit about how your dad was such a huge influence on who you've become as a person and professionally as an executive. He was pretty supportive of you, right? And
Yeah.
helping you pursue whatever you'd like to.
Yeah, early on, I knew I had a love of animals and I knew I wanted to do something along those lines. And so in high school, I took a lot of science, took a lot of advanced math. I went to an old East Coast school that had old teachers that, I remember I was in a calculus class and it was with about 10 men and me. And the teacher never called on me, never let me answer any of the questions and didn't think I should be in that class. And my dad was not having it and gave him the riot act, and turns out and supported me and helped me through it all, and then turned out at the end that I was the only one who passed the AP exam. So he taught me very early on that there isn't anything I can't accomplish, and that support has very much translated through my whole life.
So you just helped you develop the psychology where you could bulldoze through any obstacle?
Yeah, I think women have girls and then women have a harder time with imposter syndrome and all of that, and I still have that, but I have him in the back of my head reminding me that it doesn't matter if I'm a woman or a man, I can do it, and I should keep pursuing what I want to do regardless of what anybody else tells me. And that has translated, like I said, into, I think I mentioned an early career of animal training versus even just getting into recruiting and not being scared to try something new.
Yeah. Do you feel like to be successful, it's more about not feeling those things to begin with, or is it really just more of emotion of overriding it, right? If you feel imposter syndrome, do you feel like it gets easier over time to just not feel that way, or is it something that you think is just like constant? It's very normal for people to just constantly have to override that.
Yeah. And I think it is a bigger topic for women. I'm not saying men don't have it, but I coach a lot of women, I mentor a lot of women, and on my team I have a lot of women, and I hear about it a lot. And I think it's not something that there are some women who don't have it, but I think even if it's not about not having those feelings, it's about not letting them freeze you so that you can't move forward. And it's about overcoming them and taking pride when you do, right? They say, what is it? Fear is not being scared, it's being able to get past being scared. And it's the same philosophy. So pushing forward and still doing it because it's what you want to do, and then feeling so accomplished when you do.
Yeah, for sure. Like courage as a virtue. It's like this idea of virtues wouldn't be virtues if there weren't alternatives. Your alternatives. Courage is a virtue because it can be hard to be courageous. It can be hard to hold yourself to a standard to overcome, to push to overcome those things, to try to do your part to overcome those things, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's commendable. That's awesome. And you were one of four, right? Siblings
Yes.
growing up.
Yeah. I have two older brothers and an older sister. So yes,
Nice. So you were the youngest.
I was,
You're the
which
baby.
probably shaped a lot of my behavior as well. Everybody always says there's birth order issues, and I definitely have them as the baby of the family. And I hate to give my brothers credit for anything, but I'll give them the credit that they definitely taught me at an early age to have a thick skin, which I think in the business world is really important. Not to take things so seriously or personally. I'm not great. I'm not perfect at it by any stretch, but I'm so much better than I think I would be if I didn't have my big brothers in my life.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. And so you had a really interesting upbringing as a young adult because you took a career path that I think a lot of people would find fascinating, but just for whatever reason don't get into. So when you were in college, you studied marine biology or marine, what did you study?
Yes. In college, I studied animal behavior mostly because I went to school in upstate New York. There isn't a lot of marine around there. So the closest thing I could get to was animal behavior. And yeah, because I really wanted to work with animals. Growing up, I was that kid. I remember we had a big mulch delivery one time, and there was like a baby rabbit that got separated from its mom in the mulch. I'm the
Oh,
kid who brought it inside, tried to nurse it back to health. And then when it didn't work, I was devastated. I was just always an animal lover. And it was another example of my dad and my mom really supporting me. 16, they sent me to Hawaii for a summer by myself where I got to work in a lab with a world renowned animal behaviorist who was training dolphins. And I got to be an intern there for the summer and get really close to the animals and watch him do experiments and all cognition on how dolphins think about things. And it was fascinating. And I was 16 across the country from my parents and having a blast. So
wow.
that just sealed the deal. That's what I wanted to do. And that's why when I went to college, I very much focused on working with animals.
So what kind of experiments were they doing on dolphin cognition? Like what?
Yeah, the one I always use as an example is so they had hand signals for all the things they wanted the animals to do, including toys that they had in their pool. So they had a clothing basket that had a signal, and then they had a football that had a signal or a ball. And so what they were trying to understand is could dolphins understand syntax? So if they said put the ball in the basket, would the dolphin know to take the ball first, put it in the basket, or would it take the basket to the ball and not worry about the syntax? So he had been doing these studies for decades by the time I got there. So they were getting really complex and learned fascinating things about dolphin language and how they communicate with each other and how really smart they truly are.
Wow. So how well do they do with syntax? What was the
Very well, like shockingly, yeah, very well. And then other things I've been around where they were training or working with killer whales, learning how they communicate with each other. Killer whales are in pods and they all have different languages. Where I worked, we had a killer whale from the Pacific Northwest paired with a killer whale from Iceland. And when they first met up, they couldn't communicate with each other. And so they watched, and there was a researcher who worked with them that watched and saw how the languages evolved, and that the younger one evolved to the older one's language, which was the one from the Pacific Northwest. So it's fascinating work, and work that then translated into helping them in the wild, believe it or not, right? Understanding how they use sonar actually helped scientists and researchers advocate for the Navy not to bomb in the oceans because it actually impacted these animals and how they migrated and how they communicated with each other. So it reduced the amount of stuff that the Navy was doing in the oceans. So,
wow.
yes.
So how did you get into that program in Hawaii? How did that something all the way from the East Coast?
Yeah. That was lucky. That was a program called Earthwatch. I don't even know if it's still around, but back in the day, it used to be the concept that you're going to be an environmentalist and give money, but instead go and see the work that you're contributing to. And I applied and got accepted. And again, my parents supported me to go there and they paid the money and I got to, it was an unpaid internship. I won't make it glamorous. I was definitely not paid, but it gave me so much great experience to do that. And again, I don't know if Earthwatch is still around, but if it is, it's a fantastic organization for kids to go out there and actually experience not just life, but the environment. There was a couple of things there was one about learning about the great apes in Rwanda that I was very tempted to do, but I'm much more of a marine animal person. And I did that one instead.
So cool. What a cool experience to have growing up.
Yes. Yes. And again, it shaped, then I went to college and like I said, it shaped everything that I did. I got an internship at a local zoo and worked at the zoo while I was in school. Also then trying to get my degree in biology in the middle of New York. So I was very lucky. And then I got a couple internships over the summers. I worked at Cape Cod Aquarium. And then the next summer I worked at the Mystic Aquarium, which was amazing with like beluga whales and everything. And then when I graduated, I was able to parlay all that experience into getting a job out here actually in the Bay Area with an organization called Marine World, and got to work with killer whales and dolphins and sea lions and seals. And I was living my best life in my 20s doing that.
That is Amazing. Yeah, killer whale, all these animals are fascinating. Killer whales are fascinating. They really are. They're in the news lately because they're bumping into all these ships,
Yeah.
boats. Is that up in Alaska or where is that?
No, actually, I believe it's over by Morocco, I think, or by where Africa and Europe meet. I think it was in that strait that I've been hearing about them beating up on yachts. I think it's hilarious.
Are they like, this is curious. Apparently there's like they have cultures, right? And so it's some scientists think that it's just like a fad. They're just
Well,
kind of copying behavior from each other and
they do. They very
right?
much copy behavior and very geographically will copy behavior. There's in North Carolina, there's a pod of dolphins actually that have learned how to beach themselves on the beach to go after fish and then wiggle their way back in. But they don't see that anywhere else. So and then they learn it from their mother because it's a very matrilineal group. And then it just gets handed down. And the problem is that one or two probably started this by accident, but then they're teaching their young. So it's going to continue to happen. But I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of wild. Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully they stop so it doesn't become an issue for them. You know what I mean? Or people don't end up doing something they shouldn't. But
Yes,
yeah,
that is the fear. But they have not hurt anybody. Yes, they've hurt some boats and they've hurt
right.
property, but they have not hurt any people. There is
Yeah.
no recorded incident of a killer whale hurting a person in the wild.
Really?
Yes,
Zero.
zero.
There is a recorded video of a killer whale ramming a great white shark. I don't know if you've seen
Yes,
that, but that was
yes.
wild.
That was great because that solved the age-old question of who is the top predator. No one really ever knew the answer. We had our beliefs, but we didn't really have the answer. And then when they caught that footage, I think that was actually out in the Farallones out here. It was fascinating. And it confirmed our hypothesis that the killer whales would win every time.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I play this game with my girlfriend where we both this is so random. We'll pick teams of five animals and ask Chad and Claude which team would win.
That's a little random.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we have way too much fun with this. But yeah, it's just I don't know why that just reminded me of that. But you should play sometime. I'm serious. Play with your kids. It's a great game. But yeah,
Always
now
pick the
like
killer whale.
yeah, I'm gonna pick the killer whale. Let's pick that one next time. Yeah, no, they're just incredibly powerful and strong. It's when I watched that video, I was just blown away. I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
incredibly strong.
And the other thing about I don't know if there's more than one video at this point, but I know the one that you're talking about. What they also don't tell you is that it was a mom killer whale that had a baby with him. And you never mess with a mom. I don't care
Oh
what
yeah,
kind of
no,
animal it
that's
is. You never
yeah,
mess with a
yeah.
mom.
People, you just don't
A
do that.
hundred
Yeah.
percent. So I think the killer whale would have won regardless, but you absolutely don't mess with a killer whale mom.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's the same with hiking, right? With bears and like
Yeah.
particularly black bears are like very actually gentle creatures. You still don't want to accidentally get in between mom, right? Maybe,
A
yeah, that's
100%. You do not want
yeah,
to get.
yeah. Cool. So like I think during this time when you were working with a lot of animals throughout your 20s and doing research, you also you told me about a book you were reading. You had read at the time around in college, right? Called Don't Shoot the Dog.
Yeah.
What,
Yeah.
what's that about?
Yeah, it's by a woman named Karen Pryor, who's one of the pioneers of animal training. And so I knew if I wanted to get into it, it was a book I should read, and I did. And it was fascinating. It's the whole concept of operant conditioning and positive reinforcement, right? It's used to be even just training your dogs, people would smack them if they peed or pooped or whatever. And this concept is just not to. And it works. And I'll tell you how it translates into humans, but it's you just focus on the positive things people do and or animals do, and you just ignore the negative stuff. And what ends up happening is you shape their behavior that obviously they want to be rewarded, so they continue to do the positive things. And so it was very impactful, just not only in like how I think my leadership philosophy evolved, but just in everyday life, little things when you're trying to get yourself to, I don't want to go to work today because I have to go all the way to the train station. Then I have to take the train into work and then I have to go to work. Giving yourself reinforcements along the way, small things, but they're impactful and they help to encourage you then to continue to do it. So it's stuff you can use for yourself, but it's absolutely stuff you can use then when you're a leader. I would like to think that's how I manage people. I don't ever get mad when people make mistakes, because everybody makes mistakes, but I don't want to focus on those. I try to only celebrate the wins, the big things, right? I don't make a big deal about the mistakes and all of that. And I think that's how that has shaped my leadership, because it's very valuable to people. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody wants the gold star by their name. So if you can reinforce that, you're going to encourage the right behavior.
For sure. How do you handle like serious conversations, feedback situations, and there's like mistakes where there's some mistakes I've learned as a leader, like people can course correct. I don't even necessarily, not every mistake has to be a conversation. They get it, and the solution is obvious. It's a situation where you have to know the person, but like I've had some folks work for me where like I know that, okay, yeah, they made a mistake, but they know it, and I feel confident that how they're wired, they're gonna fix it. Like I don't have to, I
Right.
don't even have to talk about it. There's other times where though, like you have to, I think, maybe you don't agree, have to have those kind of conversations to change a behavior or some kind of something that's going on. So in those cases, how do you do that?
Yeah.
It's like with what you're discussing now.
Yeah, good question. And I agree with you. There's a lot of people in the kind of the recruiter mentality that I try to hire. They're going to beat themselves up over that mistake way more than I could ever. So but there are people not like that who end up either through you acquire a team and you don't have a choice in who's on it thing that you have to manage. And I also, another book that I believe in very dearly is Radical Candor, in the concept that being very honest and transparent with people and your feedback actually helps them get better, as long as it's presented in that way, right? I have worked for CEOs, I have worked for leaders that are very much yellers. I even had one who threw things. It is not my style at all. My feeling is it's not a mistake if there's a thought behind it. And so I have had people on some teams where when I say, why did you do it that way? I just am curious about your thought process. And they had no explanation. That's where I do get disappointed. If there's a thought process, it couldn't be the wrong one, or in my opinion, the wrong one. But as long as there's a thought process behind it, okay. So let's talk about that thought process and why maybe that wasn't the better way to go, but at least you thought about it and made an educated decision. The ones I struggle with are the ones who come to me and are like, I just thought that's how you'd want me to do it. And I was like, that's not a reason. And so that's where radical candor plays a part in what I do. And I'm very honest about it. I do say, I need you to think these things through. And if you're not going to, then you need to call me and we can think things through together. But you need to think it through and actually think about the outcomes and figure out what the right answer is. And when mistakes happen, my team knows, people who have worked with me multiple times now, when they know that they've made a mistake, they always come to me with solutions. Hey, I messed this up, but here are the 3 ways I think we can fix it. How do you want me to do it?
Yeah.
I'm very solution oriented. Okay, great. Let's figure out which is the right one.
Yeah, I feel like the best employees are like the ones where like they hold themselves to a high standard and they are going to course correct,
Yep.
but also then they don't crumble under constructive, blunt feedback.
Yep.
And sometimes it's hard to find both because some people, if they course correct, they're like hard on themselves, and it's sometimes harder to have to give them feedback less, but like
Yes.
sometimes it can be hard giving them feedback because they're already riding themselves pretty hard. It's interesting. I definitely think sometimes with management leadership, less is more in some cases. Like it's a balancing act though, right? And it's
For sure.
in the team. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think radical candor, and that's actually something I don't know about you, but that took me some time in my career to get comfortable giving really blunt feedback without, some people do the Oreo stuff where it's like you do the compliment and then and I'm like, come on, we're all adults. Let's just be respectful, of course, but let's just, yeah. I try to set an expectation on my team. Like I don't call it radical candor, I guess. I guess I could because people are familiar with the term at this point, but like,
Yeah.
it's more of just, look, it's just be blunt. We're on the same team. We all want to win. I typically praise success, and if there's a challenge we need to address, then I'm going to call that out too. And just keep in mind, it's coming from a place of like, I want you to be successful. We have to have clear communication in order to do that. So that's how
Yeah.
that's how I articulated it.
Well, you said it a little bit earlier, and this kind of rolls into my animal training kind of background, in that not everybody you can't treat everybody on your team the same way. And you really have to understand what makes each person go. And I have certain people on my team where radical candor absolutely works. And I do that, and they know that it's coming from a good place, and they know that feedback is only there to help them. Others, like to your point, they need the Oreo. They need the good, the ugly, then the good again, right? And so I know to do that with them and make sure that they know like all the things they're doing really well and kind of sandwich in the negative feedback right in there. And so I think good leaders, just like good animal trainers, you can't train every animal the same way. You can't have everybody on your team, you can't respond to them the same way. You have to really tailor how you are. And that took a lot of learning for me because I'll tell you, my previous manager's chief people officer asked me, I don't know, a year after we've been working together, I had feedback for him and his leadership. And I said, yeah, you need to give me more radical candor. I can't read between the lines. That's not me. I need to just know when I've messed up and we'll talk about it. And then,
Yeah.
and he's like, oh, he's so much of an Oreo person. And I'm just like, no, don't
Yeah.
sugarcoat it for me. Just lay it
Thank
out
you.
and I'll get it done. And I'll be upset at the
Yeah.
moment. And then I'm going to go fix it and move on. And I will have learned. And that's what works better for me. And I think that's where leadership's so important, is having those discussions with those people to understand what makes them tick and what makes them. That's where reference checks are great, right? Like, how did you give feedback to this person so that I know how to give them feedback?
Yeah, that's a solid reference question. Yeah, no, I agree. I guess I have a slight bias toward individuals that can we just have a blunt conversation and move on? I think, yeah, I am like, I believe situational leadership is incredibly important and management is incredibly important. And I do it to some extent. I think I do it like a little less than I used to though, because I still do it, but there's a part of me like in terms of like the culture I want to build when I think about building an organization. I again have a bias toward a radical candor kind of culture and I try to hire people in, but I also need people to understand, look, just like if you're on this is a high performing team, just like in a professional sports team, consider me like your coach, right? You got to get in, be clear about what needs to be done.
Yeah.
And so it's a balancing act, but one of my companies recently had somebody leave and I think it was because of his more of a radical candor. Very respectful, but just I don't think it's for everybody. And it's like I'm trying to find a place as leaders. How much should I adapt versus like how much should I also decide the culture I want in the organization and kind of stick to that too? If that makes
Yeah,
sense.
it does.
I
But one of the things I'm very clear with my team on is that I don't build the culture, we build the culture.
Yeah.
So I tell them what I like. The one thing that I won't compromise on, and this is to your point, is that open and transparency, right? That radical candor. But I tell them very clearly it has to go both ways. And I expect them to give me the same feedback.
That's hard. Yeah, it's hard to convince some people to do that.
A
A
hundred
lot of
percent.
people don't want to give their boss feedback.
100%, to the
Yeah.
point where I have at some points actually planted people to challenge me on things in front of other people so they can see that's okay. And I think some of the younger generations confuse my not agreeing, or not mine in general, a leader not agreeing with them, with that they're mad at them and they're in trouble. And it's like, those are two different things.
Yeah, it's totally different things, and it's hard. It can be hard for people to absorb that, but I do think it's important and we could. I think too, it's like as leaders, you could say that to your blue in the face. Look, if I give you constructive feedback, it's because I'm here to enable you to win, and you have to have clarity around like how to do. We can say that all day, but people still sometimes. It can be hard. I think it can be hard for all of us, even us, people who appreciate it and want it. It's still not always easy. Here it is.
Oh, it's never easy to hear that you screwed something up, and
Right,
like,
yeah. It's like, oh God.
we're probably those people that we beat ourselves up more than
Oh,
they can,
100%.
but I would much rather know and just it be done than try to figure out, what did he mean by that? Did he really think, or was she that? I'm not good at that. I'm a very like honest, open, transparent person. And I think for me, what works really well is direct feedback.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And again, I really try to instill that in my team, that I want them to give that to me as well. And
Yeah.
based on some of the people who work with me, I think they've gotten the message, because they have no problem telling me when I've messed up. And I'm like, hey, like,
Hey, there's
can we
definitely been a
stop?
couple of times, but that's right. Because every once in a while, I have to catch myself because there's been a couple of times where I'm like, damn, that was like, I was like, wow, I feel comfortable speaking to their boss like that. And then
Yeah.
I think it was like, oh yeah, this is exactly what I'm asking for. This is great.
Yes.
Yeah. See, this is the point. It's not necessarily easy for anyone, but it's important, right? Like,
Yep.
it's also,
Oh,
I feel like, creates this culture of like mutual accountability too. I think it goes hand in hand with accountability. We're all in a healthy way, like trying to help each other elevate, help each other be the best versions of ourselves as individuals and as a team member.
yeah. Someone who worked for me a long time ago, was her first job out of college. She was with me all through Twilio and has become an amazing manager in recruiting now. She told me a story that I didn't even remember, of when she first started to be a recruiter, where she came and asked me, she wasn't sure how to handle a situation. And so she asked me, what did I think she should do? And so I gave her my opinion, and she went out and did the exact opposite. And she said, and this is why she told me the story, she said, most people were like, oh my God, your manager must have been so mad at you. And she goes, do you remember your response? And I said, no. She goes, your response was, I've never been so proud of you because you trusted your gut. You did what you thought was best. Does not always going to be the same answer as me, but you were so proud of me because I had come so far in acknowledging that I knew my stuff well enough, and you were giving me that confidence. And she was right. I didn't remember that story, but she was right. That's a prideful moment when you've helped somebody grow in their confidence, not just their career, but in their confidence to make the right decision. And if it worked, great. And if it didn't, okay, you're going to learn, but you have to trust your gut and go with it. And so very early on, I was very happy when people disagreed with me. Weirdly enough, I know that probably makes me weird, but I think from disagreement comes really good things.
Honestly, I get a little bit worried when I make a announcement that I know is going to be somewhat controversial or that everybody's not going to like it and it's crickets or everybody seems to agree. I'm like, all right, okay. I know that like there's some side chats happening on Slack right now.
Oh, 100%.
You know what I mean?
Right?
So I always get a little worried when I don't hear the disagreement. I'm like, okay, well, it's like maybe like sales, like what are the objections not in the room or like that people say on the not on the call. So I almost like I think it's like we should expect, and if we don't have it, it's not that we're perfect or that everything we're communicating everything perfectly. It's that okay, there's some people not even necessarily due to the fault of how maybe I communicate per se, but it could also just be like how they're wired, where they're just not comfortable giving their boss like feedback. So yeah, it's something that I think it's important to be aware of that as a leader. Like,
yep. Oh, 100%. And I think that's really where you also can role model it with how you manage your team. And one of the things I do wrestle with sometimes when a company makes a decision that you don't agree with, you have to, as the head of talent, you have to be out there, lock arms, right? You can disagree and commit, right? You lock arms, you go forward. But sometimes you have to be really transparent with your team, because if you walk out there and say, this is the best thing ever, they're going to look at you and be like, you have no credibility with me because I know you don't think that. So there's been times where I haven't, and I've gone out and I've said, this is a crappy decision. I don't agree with it. However, we have to do it. And here's how we're going to make it work, right? Within these four walls, we can vent about it. But when we walk out in front of the business, this is how we're doing things.
That's, I think, a very important, there's a lesson here too when it comes to leadership. And I think actually a lot of people get this wrong, and I think it stunts their growth in leadership roles. It's like understanding that your responsibility first and foremost is to the other members of your leadership team. And regardless of whether or not you agree or not, you are a team. And like we make decisions together, and we have to be focused on, okay, the company's North Star, what we're trying to accomplish and working together. And it's not that our team, like folks that work on it within a specific function, aren't also our team, right? But it's like what you're saying. It's like regardless if there's a disagreement, it's like that's your number one. Like we're accountable to like the executive team's accountable to each other first before to their department. And I think that's hard for some folks because it's like there's this idea like of, and it's genuine, like as a leader, like you want to lead and you want to put, obviously we want to put our people first, and like we want to be good to keep managers and leaders. But I think sometimes people trip up on this in terms of understanding like how, like order of operations. When it comes to these dynamics, right? But I think you said it was like very well said. It's like transparency and candor is like very important. And then also like being clear on, and regardless of that, like here's what we have to do.
Yes, 100%. It is a challenge sometimes and I've had to learn in my career because I am very passionate about what I do. I care about my reputation. I care about doing the right thing for the business. I've had to learn how to I don't want to say not care, but pick your battles, right? Pick the ones that matter rather than picking every single one. And it's still something I'm working on, and it's still something that will evolve. I'm much better than I used to be. It's hard behind closed doors not to get riled up and get passionate because you feel so strongly in what you do.
I prefer that. And again, this is another reason I prefer the radical candor approach, because I feel like I can trust somebody. And I know that's not necessarily fair because people are like, I'm sorry, it is, but it is. But I know that if somebody is the type of person give me blunt feedback, I feel like I can trust. Like we can have a conversation, and I know what matters to you. And you're right. Like you kind of have to put context. How important is this? Is this really something that needs to be discussed, or do we have to do it? But it makes things so much easier.
Oh, I agree. And I always say, I actually do really well with assholes at work. We all have them.
Right.
We all have them. Like I know everybody has the no asshole policy, but assholes always get through. And this is probably going back to my brothers and how much they've helped me learn about it. But I
Right.
am much better with assholes at work who own that they're assholes. Okay, then they're not trying to be anything but who they are. It's almost radical candor in a different way, but they're being honest. Where I struggle are the people who are actually assholes, but pretend to be like, I'm so nice and I'm so great and everybody loves me, but they're really assholes. Those are the people I struggle with, that fake, right? Like you
Right.
can
Yeah.
just be who you are and like just
Yeah.
put it out there
Like I
and
can both be an asshole and really care about you. Like
I
both
know,
things
right?
exist. Like
I know it's very weird, but I
no,
really
I
do.
hear.
In Zynga, in the early years when I was there, was the first recruiter who did non-technical. So I had all the non-technical roles. And we had some difficult managers back then. And I got all of them because I dealt really well with them.
Yeah.
I listen. When I say I'm going to do something, I do something. And I just built great relationships. And I remember the CPO came to me at one point. She's, how are you buddies with all these people? They're so challenging. I was like, I don't know, because they know they're challenging, and I just ask them what they want, and I work with them. And so I'm
Yeah.
actually, in my early days when I was actually recruiting, was known for that, being able to work with everybody who nobody else wanted to work with.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, I think I was actually, it's interesting that you're saying that because I definitely I in the early days of Secure Vision, my RPO and embedded recruiting firm, that was I this was early days where a lot of what I did was like business one was like primarily referral based before we had more of a GT motion that we're building these days.
Yeah.
And I just noticed that I was still, the company was smaller, so I was like more hands-on. And I started to notice that a lot of our customers mirrored this energy because we just got each other. And so almost became our customer base was like more of this radical candor, back and forth, very blunt,
Yeah.
non-sensitive sometimes. But we would just, and it just worked. And I don't know, it was interesting. And now it's changed because it's a little bit different and in terms of how the company is structured, and I'm not everywhere and it's not just referral based. But yeah, it's interesting too how you tend to gravitate sometimes toward, it's like, because it's like a language, right? Like
Yeah.
it's a communication style.
Yes. And again, I think people, if you are transparent, for the most part, you're transparent and open, people trust you because they know what they're expecting. They
Right.
know what they're going to get. It's not a surprise. It's not oh, everything's great. And then you turn around and say something different to their boss, right? Like I'm a big believer that if I have a problem with someone, I go to them first.
Yeah.
In fact, we've all had it. Hiring managers come to me and complain about the recruiters. My first question is always, have you talked to them? And if the answer is no, I don't listen. Go talk to the recruiter. And if you two can't work it out, fine, bring me in, but you two work it out first.
Yes.
So I'm a firm believer in that. And I think that just helps the recruiters build the trust, but also helps you build trust of, I'm not talking about somebody behind their back. They're going to know you and I are having a conversation.
Yeah.
I'm very, very transparent about all of that.
Yeah. I think the balancing act to the radical candor side is also, and this is something that I've been better at, I'd say, the last several years, but I definitely didn't have it starting out. It was like communicating with high empathy too.
Yeah.
I see it's like this, okay, I need to operate in a way where I have really high standards, or you could say also radical candor to some extent, and empathy at the same time. They're not mutually exclusive. They're those both, right? So it's
Yes.
like I can communicate in the way that we're discussing, and I can have really high standards. They can be really high, right? Like challenging, as long as the level of empathy and support and that human side that people also really need, as long as that's there too. So I think about it too as a scale. And it's if my standards and how I'm going to communicate are like extra blunt, am I also giving the reinforcement, maybe the positive reinforcement? I think is in a sense associated with empathy, like showing that you care and being able to roll up your sleeves or being available for people when you need them or when they need you to some extent, right? They go hand in hand, and you can. I think it's easier, kind of. I think that's an important element of it too, is showing that leading with empathy to some extent, not over. I think there's a balancing act for all things, right? But
I think they're definitely not mutually exclusive. In the book,
right,
that's what the point is. And I think that by having radical candor, you are showing empathy. Because if I didn't care about your career, I'm not going to waste my time telling you how you can be better. Right? I'm telling you how to be better because I care about your career. I want you to grow. I want you to stay, right? I want you to be all these things. Whereas if I didn't, I'd let you go. But that's not who I am. So I actually think that having radical candor shows that you do have empathy, and it shows that you do care about the person and you do want them to grow when
yeah,
it's done the right way. And I think that's super important, that they should not be mutually exclusive.
yeah, it's interesting. I think like one of the personality traits, I guess you can call it personality trait, of a lot of people who come on this show. They have like different personalities in a lot of different ways, but
Mhm.
like one thing is that they're very intellectually curious and they're very curious about how to continue to improve. I think like they appreciate radical candor. They not they're the type of person that they want to know like what they're not doing as well at so that they can optimize. And
Yep.
I'm talking about like the top TA executives, like VPs at a ton of the different companies like we've had on the show. Like I would say that's fundamentally one of the similarities is their desire to learn from others and to like really seek to understand areas for improvement.
Yeah, that's why we get into the business, right? It's building that relationship with the candidates too, understanding their drivers. Why do they want to make moves? How can our company help you get to where you want to go? And if not, where is the better place? The best recruiters that I know of don't always place the candidates with them. Sometimes the best recruiters go, you know what? This actually isn't the other opportunity you're telling me about. I think that one's actually better for you. And that's another version of radical candor, but that builds trust where you're not just trying to fill a seat, you're not just trying to push somebody into something, that you're actually thinking about them. And that's where I think recruiting is heading. We haven't talked about AI yet, but with everybody's talking about AI, and I think that with all of the kind of advancements that we're making there, what that's going to do is push recruiters into having to relearn how to build that trust in those relationships with
Right.
candidates. Not texting them, it's not emailing them, it's picking up the phone and calling, and really having more time to learn what their drivers are so that we can put them in the right roles.
And that's, I feel like everything around revolving around what we automate, what we use AI for, how we're leveraging different workflows should be around like protecting and improving and just increasing the amount of like those human conversations that we're having
Yep.
with candidates and also hiring manager.
Hiring managers. Yep.
Like
Yeah, no,
getting people on the
100%,
same page.
Yeah.
Yeah, when
100%.
they find an AI that can automate what three different hiring managers want to like align, that'll be the day that like recruiter life is going to get easier when you get everybody on the same page
Yes.
easily, consistently. Damn, I'm looking for if someone can make that tool. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think AI is that powerful, but
Yeah,
I
I don't know
agree
if
with
anything
you,
is
right?
100% of the time. Yeah.
But I think that plays into recruiters' fears about AI replacing them. What I always tell my team, and what I think my role to help make them more comfortable with it is, I don't think, and maybe I'm a Pollyanna, but at least right now, I don't think that AI is going to replace recruiters. But I do think that recruiters are going to be replaced with recruiters who embrace it. And so my job as a leader is to help my team embrace it, learn it, feel comfortable with it, and help the company grow with their AI usage to then be able to focus more on the relationships.
Oh, 100%. It was like it's all about it's just other forms of automation, but the again it's all about there's huge productivity gains that can be earned. There's certainly cost savings as well that can be
Yeah.
implemented with uh but yeah, the whole point is to free up time so that recruiters can focus on candidate relationships, hiring manager conversations, feedback, alignment, and frankly operating more of a kind of almost like a talent engineer scope, overseeing a tech stack and optimizing the AI and different workflows too, which is I think fascinating and I'm like seeing become more like a bigger part of a recruiter role too.
Yeah, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. Learning how to, I just found out prompt engineering is a whole new category, and how important that is. And I'm still in the whole learning phase. I think I said
Yeah.
I'm not a dial it up to 11 AI person, but I'm not a zero. I'm somewhere in between. And I think there's some amazing tools out there that I have demoed. We were an Ashby shop, and Ashby is amazing with the AI that they're embedding into their ATS, so that you don't even have to go out and create your own. You can just use that. But there's some out there that I think is a little maybe too soon yet to be using. I'm a little unsure about the bots that will do the initial phone screens. I think it could work maybe with some more junior or repeatable roles. But do I think if I'm trying to hire a VP of talent that someone's going to talk to a bot as their first interview? No. So I think we're somewhere in between, and I'm talk to me again in 6 weeks. I won't even say in 6 months. That'll change, but it's constantly evolving. And part of my role as a leader is to make sure that I stay on top of it and stay very, very understanding of what's out there.
Are there anything like specifically any use cases for AI and talent acquisition that really excite you the most at this point?
Yeah, we just use, and I swear I'm not a commercial for Ashby, but they just rolled out a few months ago their note taker. And to me, that was a game changer. because because I'm a recruiter, because this is what I do, I always make sure to have notes so that I remember everything and don't have bias creep into the memory of the interview. But to be able to just sit back, not have to take notes, just engage with the candidate, because I know that the note taker is going to take it all for me and then shape it into feedback. And if I can add to it and everything, but I don't have to write everything down. I can just stay engaged in the conversation. That to me was awesome and remains awesome, right? Even having it on Zoom calls, because as I'm getting older, I forget things, and if I don't write it in my book, I won't remember to do it. And so having note taker on my Zoom calls, so then I can look through those at the end of the day and go, okay, what did I miss? What do I need to do? It's been game changing for me. So that's one of the things that I think I was most excited about. But they're coming out with all sorts of things, and having the agents in general. One of the things we did as a team is in Q4 of last year, I had them all do agents. We did it as a whole people team. We had everybody build their own agent. And I didn't really care if they worked or not. I just wanted people to get fundamentally comfortable with
exactly.
it, build it, figure it out, what worked, what didn't work, and then we can iterate over time. But I had one person on the team who actually built a great one that helped automate and increase the pass-through rates of resumes to one of our hiring managers who was very prickly, whereas 20% were going through before. When he built the agent, trained it, now 80% were going through, to the point where the hiring manager came and said, you know what, I don't even need to see the resumes, just go ahead and start doing it. Some were very impactful, some didn't work at all, and that's okay. And we all learned from each other, and we had sessions where everybody talked about what they were doing and what worked and what didn't work. And now we're iterating on that through the next few quarters. Like I said, just getting them comfortable with it was a big step.
I'm starting to see companies add like AI fluency testing into their interview process, which I actually am here for, as long as the scope of what they're asking for is appropriate.
Yeah.
You don't want people to have to build a whole house just to interview for a role. But just something like, hey, show us something you've built with Claude, or put something together that could make if you haven't already, just put something light together that you think would be helpful for accelerating your workflow. And again, it's not necessarily about it being robust or working incredibly well. And I think it's even okay to set that expectation with candidates. Look, we're looking for baseline proficiency and your understanding of how these things can work, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of the things I but discussed with our head of engineering at Illumio, which was around, hey, we're hiring for AI skills, but we're not allowing AI in the process. And so I think that's where I think a lot of hiring managers, I don't think he's abnormal in that they're wrestling with that, because they don't want to interview the AI. They want to interview the person.
Sure.
So where do you draw that line? So we did I built a AI transparency statement for Illumio about where we want you to use it, where we don't want you to use it. But I think people are going to continue to use it how they want. But I do think it is important.
I think it's like in projects, or there's aspects. Of course, nobody wants somebody to just be reading from chat or Claude when they're answering questions.
But they do.
They do.
But they do. We saw one person that was interviewing had glasses on, and we could see it just typing out on their glasses.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm not going to get into the ethics of that exactly. I'm not saying it's unethical per se. It's not that. It's just, again, we're trying to understand the actual candidate. And that's not what we mean by AI fluency. It's not reading from a script. It's not what we mean.
Right. That's not fluency. Yes.
Right, yeah.
It always boggles me when people do that, because I'm like, you do realize if you get the job, you will then have to do it. So if you're not qualified and you've portrayed yourself as being qualified, great, you'll get the job, but you'll get it for 6 weeks and then you'll get fired. Why not? I guess that goes back to my like crazy transparency stuff, but I'm like, I want to get the job because I'm qualified, not because I faked it.
I still don't know. I guess maybe some ways, maybe sometimes these folks don't get caught, but it's still, fortunately, it's somewhat obvious. If somebody's reading just like a canned general, everybody knows how chat and Claude talk now. It's going to get probably harder though to identify.
Yes.
Yes, that's super interesting. I do want to, getting into the final segment of our conversation, talk to you a little bit about and we've already touched on this, but like over the next few years, like really what's going to be your focus in terms of your own evolution as a leader?
Yeah, everybody always asks me like, what's my next step? Do I want to be a CPO? And I don't right now. That will change. Could talk to me in 6 weeks, 6 months, maybe that will change. And I think with AI and everything that it's going to do, I think the role of the head of talent is going to evolve. I think the time of really massive TA teams is going away, and the scope is somewhat not shrinking because the scope is still there, but like the size of the team is going to get smaller. And so I've started to think about investing in other parts of HR, broadening my skills, and maybe CPO is the next kind of iteration of it. But I've always been very happy as the VP of talent. I love what I do. I think it's the best job in any company because you get to work with everybody across every discipline. I work with sales, I work with engineering, I work with G&A teams, and I have to understand how that all works together. And I have to understand our future plans and how I can be strategic with talent and help bring that company into that next evolution and scale. So I've always loved my job, but I think it is evolving over time. And like I said, that's where my head is now. Ask me again in 6 weeks, that question's going to be different. And that's the crazy thing about AI. Literally, it is changing. It probably just changed and we didn't even know it, right? Like everything's just evolving so quickly. So I don't have my feet buried in the sand that I am staying where I am and that's it.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about the world around me and how it's changing.
I love it. I love it. Jack, look, this has been incredible. I've really enjoyed this conversation. It's been pretty fast paced and I've been like super engaged. I actually remember I was telling you like before we hit record, I was like sort of my goal as a host is to help my guests forget that we're recording. And there was a few times in this conversation where like I forgot. So I had a really good time. It was a fun conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It was fun. It was a good conversation.
All right. Thanks for joining us and come back sometime.
Absolutely.